We knew this was coming, and there's a range of different sectors here that are in focus. But what really stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, we've known this since Friday with the Bloomberg scoop, and then now it's fleshed out with the details and the announcement. So everybody knew this was coming, and I'm sure it was well telegraphed as well by U.S. officials to Beijing with the various trips by U.S. officials that something like this was potentially coming down. Keep in mind, this is the culmination of about a 2-year review of Trump-era tariffs on China. And keep in mind as well, none of those tariffs were rolled back, right? So they were added onto, and in key areas, as we just heard from Catherine Tai and also Joe Biden, in key areas that are key to China's ramp up of manufacturing capacity and in the industrial base at a time of a slowing domestic economy. So we're talking their new 3, EVs, batteries, solar, as well as chips and other things. Everything from ship-to-shore cranes are added to, an increase of 25%, syringes and needles, 50%, surgical gloves, 25%. So there's a lot of different products, targeted products, as Janet Yellen has talked about, against China and the increase of these tariffs. Yellen, by the way, she also weighed in on this, saying this will not cause a meaningful rise in U.S. prices. And that's the big concern, obviously, that this could stoke inflation if you're raising the import costs potentially on a lot of these products. Here's the statement coming from the Ministry of Commerce, MOFCOM, in Beijing. China will take resolute measures to safeguard its own rights and interests. The U.S. should immediately correct its wrong action and cancel the additional measures against China. Beijing also adding that the tariffs were political manipulation ahead of the November election. Obviously, this is something that Donald Trump has weighed in on. He says, forget the 100% increase on EV tariffs into the United States. It should be 200%. Of course, Donald Trump has talked a lot about across the board 60% tariffs on Chinese products. So it's going to get interesting, obviously, over the next 6 months. Now, the big question right now is what can China do to retaliate? We don't know. And what is their capacity to retaliate, perhaps on their own export controls, like on key minerals, which China controls. But again, that could undermine Xi Jinping's efforts to restore confidence in its domestic economy and also attract investment from abroad. So we'll see.
A lot has been said about, Steve, how nuanced these tariffs were, and there's some pretty key exclusions and careful exclusions here.
Yeah, the U.S. solar industry, for one, has argued, and I guess not rightfully so, but it's been justified, I guess, by the USTR, the U.S. Trade Representative's Office, and Catherine Tai, essentially starting a process for the exclusion, perhaps, of about 19 different products, essentially for equipment that goes into making solar components, because that solar industry in the United States, it's up and coming, but it's not there yet. And that could, if the United States raises the price on the solar equipment, manufacturing equipment, essentially could raise their costs and hinder their efforts to build out their own supply chain in the solar industry. In particular, the U.S. manufacturers, they're arguing about tariffs on solar ingot and also wafer making equipment that would raise their costs at all. But keep in mind as well, something that was interesting that I read through this, on those EV batteries and the lithium-ion batteries, yes, the Biden administration raised the tariffs on lithium-ion batteries for EVs to 50%, but they did not raise the tariffs for lithium-ion batteries that go into solar equipment. And that is a key designation as well, not to hinder the burgeoning U.S. solar industry, which is, of course, really dominated by China, overwhelmingly dominated by China.